What I have learned from Usher that I apply to this day, even though he's 11 years younger than me, he's so committed to his craft. He's so committed to excellence. And not just for the sake of him. He's so committed because he wants his audience to always experience the absolute best. And so on my days when I'm struggling to want to continue and is it worth it, I've learned that lesson from him that whether you're 15 or 45, when you commit to the excellence and when that excellence is to serve others, you're always going to win.
So I'm over here wondering if you're wondering what it must be like to work in and around the entertainment industry, music industry, film and TV industry. You know, I live in Atlanta, so of course we are just thriving and popping, all things entertainment here. And as somebody who has been a CPA business manager in that space for 30 years, you know, that is a pretty common question. And I'm super excited today that I have a special guest who has lived the life of the business. All right, you're going to learn all about what it's like to kind of peer behind the curtain of this amazing entertainment industry. So welcome to another episode of the Thank Me Later Show with me, your host, Jani Thornton, where we help you master your money and transform your life. And the transformation we're working on today, that we're focused on today, is life and the business, the entertainment business, and the lessons that we can all learn from being in that space. So I have a very, very special guest today, Miss Sheri Riley, or Dr. Sheri Riley. Hello, Sheri.
Hello, my friend.
I'm so happy that you are here today.
It's so good to see you. I'm looking at this like, oh my God, I remember when you bought this building.
Oh my
when
gosh.
You moved here.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Forever ago, 2008.
God is good.
Oh,
yes.
For sure. For sure. And I'm so excited that you're here because I don't think I've ever had this conversation with anybody before about the business.
Yes.
Yeah, about the business.
Yes.
But I don't want to just jump into it. I want to give you what you're due, and I want to introduce you properly for all the folks. So allow me to read your amazing but short bio here.
But short, that's the key.
It's definitely short. So our guest today, Dr. Sheri Riley, is the founder and president of Exponential Living, the premier high-performance life coaching company for athletes. She is an empowerment speaker. She's a high-performance life coach and founding member of John Maxwell's Global Maxwell Leadership Certified Team. She's recipient of the Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award and proud member, I'm going to say it, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Ski-wee, let me just say that. All right now. And an award-winning author of Exponential Living. Hold on, let me make sure y'all can see her beautiful book. Let me just say this, with a forward by Usher Baby. We're going to talk about a little Usher Baby in a little bit, which is a really important book, which is about stop spending 100% of your time on 10% of who you really are. So Sheri speaks to everybody, NBA teams, NFL teams, WNBA teams, college teams, you name it. My friend has done it. Coca-Cola, JP Morgan, Chase, to name a few, on and on and on and on. And thank you for being here today.
Thank you. I'm excited about our conversation.
Yeah, and so it's funny to talk about who you are today because when I met you, that's not who you were.
My God. How long ago?
So kind of give some background, because by the time I met you, I think you had just left LaFace.
Yes.
So now let's just kind of talk about LaFace, because now we're thinking like this is the early 90s.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so y'all think about
Heyday.
Atlanta. Heyday.
For
the young folk, they can't even relate to what it meant to be in the 90s in Atlanta.
What a time.
Literally a magical time.
Yes.
I mean, it is, I can't describe it, Sheri, what it means to have been a part of history, literally musical history when Atlanta was taking off. And certainly LaFace Records was a huge part of Atlanta being on the map in the first place. So you end up at LaFace how?
Woo! Loaded question, long question. I'll give a short answer. I'm originally from Kentucky. I always had this dream of living in Atlanta. I had never been to Atlanta. Working in the music industry. There was no music industry in Atlanta at that time. I'm going to date myself. This was before LA and Kenny moved here. Jermaine and Dallas, who are prolific producers from Atlanta, were in middle school, right?
Right.
And so fast forward, I had this dream to live in Atlanta, work in the music industry. And so when I was in Cleveland working with Gerald Levert, doing the marketing for his company, I got the call that LaFace was looking for a marketing director. And so fast forward, I get the job. Moved to Atlanta. So here I am. This is my dream. This is my dream. I got here when Usher was 15 and no one had really heard of him. TLC, the first record that I worked was Creep. That was the first video. We did 3 videos. Toni Braxton was hot and we was working on her second album. OutKast had a Christmas song out called Players Ball. People don't even know that started out as a Christmas record. So I literally got here at the beginning of the explosion.
And so you literally step into a magical time. You probably didn't even realize that it was magical at that time. You're at the forefront of all of these incredible artists, literally starting the beginning of their career. And you stay in the business for how long?
So I worked at LaFace 3 years.
Okay.
And magical would definitely be the word. Like, we knew we were doing something different. It was a very small staff. I mean, we literally were changing the scope of music with Toni Braxton, TLC, Usher, OutKast, Donnell Jones, Tony Rich. But it was only, the core team was like 10 people.
Isn't that crazy?
Shanti, Lisa, Billy, myself. Then we had interns and assistants to Sean Macon, Chelsea Patterson, Michelle Montgomery. The fact that it was Lorraine Sanabria, the fact that it was small enough, I could name everybody. KP, I could literally sit here and name everybody. And so we went to war. And that's how it feels. That's why we still have relationships to this day, is because it was such a small, compact unit. But every day was heaven or hell.
Right.
It was either magical or the building was burning down.
Right. The best and the worst.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And I think from the outside, people just assume, being in the business is fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's just fun, and it's not even like real work. And, y'all just traveling and kind of moving around and not understanding it is work with no boundaries.
Work with no boundaries. A lot of people burned out because they thought it was all fun. A lot of people didn't understand the impact of what we had to do because they thought it was all fun. But it was a lot of fun, but it was a lot of work. There was no structure. You're building it as you're taking off and while you're flying and while you're landing.
Right.
It was never built. You
Right.
were always building. You're always dealing with different personalities. I tell people all the time, in the music industry, you're selling perception. And when you're selling perception, it means you're selling a lot of things that aren't real.
Right.
But when people believe they're real, the people who you're selling it for and the people you're selling it to believe that it's real, that's when a lot of the conflicts happen. That's when a lot of the challenges happen, because people want to maintain the facade. So you have that part. And then you have the magic of the music. I wanted to work in the music industry because I love the music.
Right.
I love the music. I love what music does and how it connects. Funny story, starting with Usher when he was 15, been there from the beginning. When the very first show, when he started his Vegas residency, being there and seeing all of these grown 40, 50-year-old people
Right.
that fell in love with him when they were 13, 14, 15.
Absolutely.
They flew in from all parts of the world. And that was the beauty and the magic of music. It brought all of us together. And that's what kept me there. That was what I loved.
And Sheri, one thing that I've always said about being in the business is, I've always felt like that we're in the business of making memories.
Yes.
Yeah, but the music to me is the secondary piece. That's a huge responsibility of us making sure that people who are consuming, the music, or who are going to the concert, that this is a memory for the rest of their life.
Yes.
It's our responsibility to make sure that it's a really, really good one. So as someone
But can I say something with that?
Sure.
Part of the challenge, though, is everyone doesn't share that philosophy. I shared that. You shared that.
Right.
But we know our colleagues that wasn't their mindset.
Absolutely.
Their mindset was, I'm going to get mine and
Yes.
whatever with you. And that can be some of the conflict. But for those of us who genuinely was committed to the memory, the moment, and the magic,
Right.
it was can I tell you, I just saw the video where Ludacris surprised Auntie. Have you seen that? So
No.
there's a older white woman.
Oh, yes.
You
I
saw
saw
that?
one, yes.
That right there, and
Right.
just for your viewers who may not seen it, there's an older white woman who went through major medical issues,
Yes.
and Ludacris is her favorite artist.
Loves him, yes.
And when she was going through trying to learn how to walk and talk and eat and all the things, she ended up saying, move,
Right.
get out the way.
Right.
And from that,
Right.
it was her recovery. And so he surprised her,
And went
spent
to
the
the
day
house.
with her
Right.
for her birthday.
Right.
And I laughed, I cried, I laughed, I cried, because that's what I fell in love with about the music industry.
Right. Literally.
That's what I fell in love with
Mhm.
about the music industry. That's what kept me when all the other things that you hear
Right.
that aren't positive happen in that industry.
Right.
Yeah.
One thing that I can say that I appreciated about you and I learned from you is to be in the business, but not of the business.
Yes.
And how did you consciously do that? And let me just kind of give some context, because as you know, and I don't know if a lot of people realize this, there are so many people adults who are not equipped to be in this business, let alone children.
Yeah.
It will eat you up because of so many things that are not okay in other professions. Everything is okay in the music.
Everything.
Everything is okay.
Yeah.
I don't
And
get-
expected.
And expected. So you name it, sex, drugs, rock and roll, like
Yeah.
that's for real.
Yeah.
And so how were you able to be in this business, have the relationships, all the connections, all the people that you know, and just stay on your path?
Well, for me to stay grounded, I give all credit to two things. One, I'm a woman of faith. And so fully understanding what the power of prayer was for me every day. And then how I was raised. Like, I come from a small town in Kentucky. I was raised with certain values. And I was raised with a father and a mother, specifically with my father, who embedded in me that all you have is your word. Like, you can do anything in this world if your word is dependable. And so that was my guiding post. And now it was very hard because there was places and spaces I didn't go, that I lost out on opportunity. There were opportunities or conversations about me that I had to have, the confidence to withstand, because I didn't. But it also afforded me respect. I had a moment, L.A. Reid, who was one of the co-owners, he would acknowledge why he respected me and the decisions I was making and the brilliance of my marketing, because of the tough decisions that I made that other people didn't make. And it allowed me to grow in my own understanding that I could learn the game, but I never had to play the game. But it was not easy. But I stayed rooted in my faith, and I stayed rooted in the values that my family gave me. And then the third thing is, honestly, I was too young and dumb to know any different.
Right.
I literally just knew right from wrong.
Right.
I look back now and I go, "Oh, girl, that was good."
Right.
But I just knew that don't feel right. That don't seem right, because I saw people's lives destroyed just because people could. And I just knew that's just not right. Probably if I'd had a little knowledge, I probably wouldn't have been as naive to make the tough decisions that I made. But I was just young and dumb, and I just knew right from wrong.
It's funny when I hear you say that. One thing that I don't even know how I knew to do it when I started working in the business, I just asked God to release me from materialism. And I don't even know why, like, Sheri, I swear, I felt like it just dropped in my spirit. Like, I knew I needed to let that go. I could not be in this space and be who I am and who I needed to be, competing with all of this crazy financial stuff. I needed to stay in my own space, and I asked God to release it from me, and he did.
And that's the North Star. God told me never make decisions based on money. That was my North Star. Always do what is right by your standards, not by the pressure of the community. And even when I was in Kentucky growing up, and there was drugs and sex and all the things around me as a teenager, I would always say peer pressure means nothing to me. And so that's kind of what I stood on when I got in the pressure of the music industry, when I got in the pressure of you can make this decision and make millions, or you can make this decision and you could possibly lose, but you'll have your integrity in place. And a lot of the people who made those decisions made the money, and they're broke and miserable now. And I'm financially doing well,
Right.
and got my soul intact.
Right.
And so, there's this temporary gain, long-term price that I was just never willing to pay. And the interesting thing is all the people that came against some of the decisions that I made when those moments arose, all of them respect me. All of them. They've said it. We live it. We're still cool. And so it really taught me later in life that a lot of time the pressure people put on you is because they're not strong enough to make the decisions you're making.
Right. No, I love that. And I understand what that looks like, as you're living that. And now as we have matured, 30 years later, or whatever the amount of years later.
Yeah, we grown.
For real now. Like for real,
we
real.
Grown.
Listen, honey, that was my moment. Let me digress for a minute. Sheri, when the first time that I had a client who was younger than one of my children, I was like, oh my God, what is happening in my life right now? Yeah. That was like a major wake-up call for me.
Yeah.
One thing that
can I add to that?
Sure.
I just had a call yesterday, and they asked me when I crossed Delta Sigma Theta.
Right.
And when I told them spring 89, and some of them were born in the 90s.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
You're so cute. Like, y'all are so cute. You weren't even on the planet yet, boo. Already made, and where were you, girl?
Oh my God.
Not even a thought. That is cute. One other thing too, Sheri, that I was thinking about is how well you have managed your entertainment life, but also, and I hate to call it regular, but your other life. And I know, because I'm sure you had to have friends or family who was interested. Oh my God, Usher loves her, or she knows everybody, because the entire universe. Everybody in the whole universe. How did you manage that? Because you essentially you're living and working in two different spaces, like easily. It always felt like you were effortlessly moving between the different worlds.
Yeah, I credit that to the fact that I was always Sheri in any of those worlds. And so whether I was with my family, I was Sheri, or if I was sitting with Usher in London or Paris somewhere, I was always Sheri, where a lot of my friends in the industry, they code switch. They got to be the shot callers and, extra and all of this industry bravado when they're in the industry, and then they at home and they broken and really don't feel good about themselves, or they try to like play up who they are with their friends. Right. I just always was me. In any of the environments. And so I live by this philosophy. I never let the wins go to my head or the losses go to my heart. And so I was always so grateful to be in those entertainment spaces. And how I looked at it is, wow, look what I get to do with my family and friends. And so I'll never forget when I worked with Gerald Levert, God rest his soul, and the OJs. I grew up with my family listening to the OJs. Right. And growing up, my dad, my mom, my family, they would never think they could meet Eddie Levert and Walt Williams and write to like, oh my God, that's something so foreign. Like that's what you watch. And so I'll never forget the first time I was able to take them to an OJ's concert. The first time I was able to take my cousin to meet Gerald Levert. To this day, being able to take people just in December, taking friends who grew up loving Usher and as their childhood crush, and took them to the show here in Atlanta, and they could meet him and take pictures with him. So I always saw the integration of look at the magic you get to create and look at how you get to integrate your world into that. I took my cousin to the TLC Waterfalls video shoot. Right. She got to meet Will Smith. Like, I'm saying all of these because they're memories for me. It was for someone else, but the impact was, look at what your hard work produced.
Right.
That you get to create opportunities that people think would never exist. And so that's how I was always able to integrate the two. There was so many times, honestly, when I wanted to throw all of it away because I was just, hair was falling out. I was burnt out, overwhelmed. But I would think about someone that next opportunity, I would get to give them that experience that would allow me to do that. And then with my family, I would always be able to just be Sheri.
Right. No, I love that. And that's one thing that I can say that I don't feel that I did well. And the reason why I say that is I was so afraid, and I think to some degree I still am kind of in the business of keeping everything separate. And I think I overcorrected. I'm an overcorrector because Sheri, I was literally afraid when it came to my children. I was afraid because I had seen so many kids ruined.
Yeah.
I'm like, that will not be my children. That cannot be my kid. So I kept things separate. Now I would allow, my friends and family to attend things and all of that, but I felt like I was on high alert all the time. Like, no, this can't happen. This can't happen because I'm like, I don't know if I didn't trust what was around me or even trusting myself. And David, my husband, would always say, why do you act like you work in the mafia? Because I wouldn't even talk about it around people. A lot of people some people are going to watch this be like, she works in the music industry.
She was a G in the music industry.
She's in the music business. Look, still in it today.
She's still a G in the music industry.
But I have worked hard to create that separation from it, as a way to kind of protect myself because of what we're talking about. We have seen people literally crash and burn.
Yes.
Die. Literally die.
Die.
Yes. Literally die.
Yeah.
Because they could not handle what this business brings. Call it entertainment, call it sports, call it whatever you want. You do have to prepare differently to be in this space.
You got to prepare differently. You have to process differently. You have to have a different sense of discernment. And you have to have a different level of protection.
Yes.
So I commend you for that because there was a certain level of protection and there was an integration that you're acknowledging. I think with my youngest, my oldest and my youngest daughters, especially my youngest, because, she was there from the beginning. My oldest, as my bonus daughter, came a little later. I always wanted her to be able to have a spirit of discernment.
Right.
And I wanted her to be able to go anywhere and go everywhere and do whatever. And then I always wanted a part of when you say, how did I maintain my integrity? I felt like if I always stayed rooted with those who loved and knew me, it would give me the courage
to do
in the other world.
Right.
Because I know y'all don't love me.
Right. For sure. Honey, we get hit by a bus, they will replace us in like 5 whole seconds.
Yes.
Goodbye.
Yes. Thank you very much.
It was nice knowing you.
Yes.
So one quick story I want to tell you, and then we have a caller who has a question for you. So in the context of kids, so Trevor, I think, was in college at the time. Cameron was in high school, and I was taking them to the Grammys. Right? So you and I both know it is not as glamorous in person as it is on television.
So boring.
Oh, my God. Sorry, Grammys. Sorry, Grammys.
Love y'all.
I know. Oh, my gosh. But I'm like, what a wonderful experience for my children to have. And I'm so happy that I can do this for them. So we go to LA, we go to the Grammys. Trevor now goes back to A&T to school, and he's telling one of his friends, yeah, I was at the Grammys. And then I guess he must have posted something or shared something. And then one of his female friends was like, she thought the Grammys, like grandmother.
Oh.
Literally.
Oh my God.
Not incomprehensible that he could be at
the Grammys.
At the Grammys.
Wow.
And that's one of my favorite stories because
I love it.
people can't even comprehend that is real. And that's just like normal work for us.
Yes.
Been more time than I could count. You know what I mean? Like, it's just work. Check the box.
Very similar. Dominique, like I said, she's always been exposed.
Right.
And for her 18th birthday, Usher's show was here. Her birthday was the 16th, the 13th, the show maybe the night before or something like that. And so they put her on the big screen.
Right.
And so her friends were in the audience, and
Right.
her closest friend who grew up loving Usher because her mother loved
Usher, of course.
So all she knew was Usher.
Right.
And so when it got back to the school, her friends were like, "Oh my God, you know Usher. Why you never say anything?"
Right.
Like, "Oh my God."
Right.
And she was like, "But that's just my uncle." So for her,
Yes.
even though she knew who he was,
Right.
it never meant anything to go where other people are like, "Oh my God."
Yes.
And so she came home and she was like, "So Mommy, I know he's a big deal,
Right.
but he's really a big deal, huh?"
Meanwhile, she had just been at State Farm Arena with 26,000 people screaming.
Yes.
For the third show that week.
That week.
Exactly.
Right.
Literally.
Like the fourth show, fifth show that year in Atlanta.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And so but I think that also empowers them with what their real power is.
Right.
Is because it wasn't made to be a big deal.
Right.
But there was a level of respect.
Absolutely.
And so it shows our children
Yes.
that there are no boundaries.
None.
You can walk in any room, you can talk to any people, you can be exposed to anything.
Right.
And people are always going to have more or less.
And big things can be normal.
And big things can be normal.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And I think that was the kind of the takeaway from me.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, everything at time I think about the Grammys. I'm like, that's not your grandmother.
That's
Trevor.
not your Grammy. It's the Grammys. Your grandmother's actually more entertaining than the Grammys. Ooh. But I love the show. I do. I just don't want to attend it.
Necessary show.
Yes.
Yeah.
To watch.
Better on TV though.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All
but
right.
that's true of all award shows, not just the Grammys.
All right. We have a caller, Miss Stephanie from DC, who had a quick question for you.
Hey Sheri, my name is Stephanie and I'm from DC. I follow you on Instagram and saw you post a video about your friendship with Usher. What is something that you've learned from Usher that you apply to your life or your business?
Wow. First of all, thank you for following me, Stephanie, on IG. I appreciate that. And keep sharing my reels. Thank you. What I have learned from Usher that I apply to this day, even though he's 11 years younger than me, is when he was 15, 16, he came to me and he wanted to practice this microphone move, this move with a microphone stand. Usher didn't have a tour. Usher didn't have a promo tour. There was no reason to get him any kind of rehearsal budget. You understand what I'm talking about?
Amen.
Ain't no activity, ain't no budget.
Right.
But he was like, I have to do this microphone. I've got to get rehearsal time. And so I went, I fought, I got him rehearsal time. And to this day, 30 some years later, when you go see him live, you see what he does with his microphone stand. Fast forward, during his Vegas residency, I went to rehearsal and I'm sitting there for an hour and a half. And Stephanie, he's literally performing one segment of the song for an hour and a half. The time that I was there, they're working on one segment of the song. He's been performing that song for 30 years. What I learned from him is you can take away in those two things. He's so committed to his craft. He's so committed to excellence, and not just for the sake of him. He's so committed because he wants his audience to always experience the absolute best. And so on my days when I'm struggling to want to continue and is it worth it, I've learned that lesson from him, that whether you're 15 or 45, when you commit to the excellence and when that excellence is to serve others, you're always going to win.
I love that. How powerful is that, though?
Yeah.
And I know exactly what a microphone stand. Who knows? That's his trademark move.
And he literally had the vision for that at 15.
Isn't that crazy?
And he worked on it at 16 when I
Right.
got that budget. And now at how old is Usher? 50?
Right.
46? 46?
Right.
He's literally, that's his trademark.
Mm-hmm.
That's the trademark.
So now let's transition and talk about something that you alluded to before. When you talked about the stress, you talked about your hair falling out. You talked about walking away from it all. People think when you work in this business that you would never feel that way. You know, that it's just travel and fun and excitement and exuberance. Let's talk about that a little bit. Look, I'm trying not to have to lay on the couch and need some tissue for this part.
And you said walk away. That's some people are like, why did you resign?
Right.
I didn't resign or walk away. I crashed and I burned.
Yeah.
I crashed and I burned. Literally, I had a bald spot back here. I was overweight. I was unhealthy. I didn't sleep. Can we get real?
You can't sleep.
Can we get real?
Yeah.
I did not relax unless I drank a bottle of wine and smoked a joint. That was how I got my peace.
Right.
There was no way to unwind because
Yes.
you're on 28 hours a day. There's only 24. And I was literally at the Little Kim song Ladies Night. And I had Lisa Left Eye Lopez. That was my artist I was with. And there was a thing about at LaFace is you never left your artist. Like one of the unique things about that label, what made us so brilliant is because of the way we loved and cared for our artists. And so you never leave your artist. So what was supposed to be a one-day shoot, the Ladies Night. Y'all remember the song with Angie, Lisa? Okay, Little Kim song. Well, this one-day shoot ended up being a 3-day party. I mean, 90% of the people in that video were not supposed to be in the video. People were flying in to West Palm Beach to come and be in this video. Literally, we had mothers with bags of alcohol. I mean, it was a party. We had extras fighting at 2 a.m. in their bikinis, butt naked, and everybody's watching.
Right.
And I was sitting there at 2 a.m. And I was sitting and I said, oh my God, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
I can't do this anymore. And I called a girlfriend of mine and I was like, I'm going to resign. Like, I can't do this anymore. And I literally, again, you don't leave your artist. This was the 3rd day of a one-day shoot. I went to Lisa and I said, Lisa, I'm going to leave. Baby, you're good. I'm going to leave. And it was a connecting. So it was West Palm Beach to Atlanta, Atlanta to LA, because I had to go to Usher's You Make Me Want a video shoot. And so this was pre 9/11.
Right.
So I connect in Atlanta. I'm in first class, right? And literally the flight is going to LA. So you know it's a big plane.
Sure.
When I opened my eyes, the flight attendant, the captains, they were all standing over top of me. I had to been out for a while because the look on their faces.
They were petrified.
Yes. And the entire plane was empty.
Oh my God, Sheri.
And so when I came to in LA and I drove to Tashawn Macon, I drove to my girlfriend's house and I landed at, 12 o'clock LA time. And I laid on her floor and I prayed and prayed and prayed. And I called my boss and said, I'm not going to make it to Usher's video shoot. So that's 2 artists that I haven't showed up for.
Right.
And I flew back to Atlanta and I sat in the dark in my apartment for about 5 or 6 days, just crying and praying and crying. Because here's the thing, Janai, I loved what I did.
I know it.
I loved the artists I worked with.
Yes.
I loved the impact we were making. This was my dream.
Yes.
From being a small town girl in Kentucky. I asked for this. I wanted this. I loved this. The thing that I loved the most made me miserable.
Yes.
But when I got up off that floor, and God gave me some words in that moment, I literally called LA and I said, LA, I'm resigning. And he said, I knew it was coming. He said, I have all the people who work with me. I knew you would be the one that would leave.
Right.
I called Kenny. I'm not going to share what Kenny said, but he gave me some encouraging words. Kenny Babyface Edmonds. And here's the thing, though. This was like June 5th. I closed on my house. It was like June 3rd. I closed on my house June 5th. My last day at LaFace was June 19th, and I moved in my house that night, June 19th.
Right.
My dad was like, she's having a nervous breakdown. Nobody buys a house and quits their job. Right?
Literally.
But what I realized out of all of that was working on a record label was only one of my dreams. If I had stayed any longer, I would have stayed there 10 years too long.
Right.
Because it was one of my dreams. I also wanted to be an entrepreneur. And so what I realized out of that moment was we can get so caught up in the one dream, we forget and stop dreaming.
Amen.
Right?
Yeah.
We forget and stop dreaming.
Absolutely.
So yes, I crashed and I burned.
Right.
And I took this journey of how do you live in the power of peace, and I haven't smoked weed since.
Right.
Where I get the peace now, and I get it from a different place and space.
And I appreciate you sharing your story because this is the part of the entertainment industry that people don't talk about. And because it is different, the hours are different. The demand is different. Yeah. And
the lack of boundaries.
The lack of boundaries is different. And I think I have probably, I call it on the edge looking over, how you hold it down so tight, your knuckles are white. I think I have been there maybe 3 times. Yeah, at least 3 times. And just like, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
You know, I just can't do it. And I think what's hard is because, like you said, you wanted it, you loved it, not understanding there's a season for everything.
Yeah.
And it's okay to move on.
And I was able to create something that I always said I was around the industry, but not in it.
Right.
Because what I found was that, again, that was just one of the dreams.
Right.
And then being able to have my consulting firm for all those years, I was able to become a standard that if you chose it, at least you could see it. And that I take great pride in. There's so many younger executives that thank me for showing them a way to still be in the industry and not be of the industry.
And not be of it. And so just a couple things as you spent your time in the business, around the business, what are some key things that you were able to take away from the industry that helped you, become an author, to help you become a coach, to help you become a speaker? Because I'm sure you had to garner some amazing things. It equipped you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'll probably say the greatest gift the industry gave me is hustle in the most positive way. Meaning there's ideas that I come up with that I believe and know they can happen. Because in the music industry, in the entertainment industry, we create perception. We take some idea and it becomes a reality. And so you don't get that in other industries. There's no other industry outside of entertainment that you take this impossible dream, this note, and make great music, this idea and create a great artist.
This person,
right? And so it gave me this unique understanding that, one, I could make 3 pivots in my career, that I could do that. It gave me this unique perspective that anything is possible. So when I'm coaching my clients, I'm able to help them unlock whatever those barriers are, because I came from an industry where there were no barriers. When I'm on that stage, I don't stand up there to deliver information. I stand up there to be engaging and give you information that you want to hear that's impactful for you. And so I take all of that branding and development and work that I've seen my artists do, and I bring that when I speak. So I want to entertain you, because that way I can get you to really receive the information. So those are just 3 of the keys that I've taken away that's truly helped me be a great coach and speaker.
And as we get ready to wrap up this episode, I think this is going to help a lot of people, to understand the truth. And we're not saying it's a bad place.
Not at all.
We're not saying it's a bad place, but you do have to be equipped to be in the space, though.
Yes.
Yeah. Or you are not going to survive long.
No.
And that's the truth. And I don't care if you're the talent, the parent, the executive, the producer, I don't care who you are. Your time here will be short, or it's going to be very, very painful.
And can I share this with you? I know we're wrapping. The reason I'm where I am right now is because when I left the entertainment industry, when I resigned from LaFace, I would not work with Usher. And the reality is, when you're starting a business as an entrepreneur, working with an artist like Usher, that's how you start your company. I would not work with him. That was the very first real decision I made that set me on the path to where I am now. And in that, for 10 years, he didn't understand it. Like, why wouldn't you work with me? And I was like, I can't. And what I knew at that time is that he needed my friendship more than he needed my marketing expertise. And so that stance that I took cost me financially, but it created everything in me that I'm doing now, because our relationship from that moment on became what I do with my clients. It is the foundation for the high performance life coaching work we do. It is truly what allowed him to be where he is, because there was moments in his career where the only safety net he had was our friendship.
Right.
And it gave him what he needed. And unbeknownst to me, I was being a high performance life coach. I didn't know it. I was just my friend and, our friendship.
Right.
And so even though that may have, quote unquote, cost me financially, it gave me what money could have never given me. It gave me foundation. It gave me truth. It gave me authenticity. It gave me peace. It gave me clarity. It gave me courage. It gave me a career. Because I believe, and my dad always taught me, baby, you can always make money, but you cannot get your name or your integrity back.
Amen to that. and that is certainly true. And I think it is something to be a beacon of light in our space. You know, people are looking for the people who are grounded, who really care about them, you know, who are there to really support them, because it is a cutthroat business where there are no rules.
Literally and figuratively.
Yeah. There are just no rules.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no rules.
And it's okay.
And it's okay. And it's encouraged.
For sure. Now that is true.
And it's encouraged.
Yes, that is true.
And it is encouraged.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you don't have if you're not a person that has any foundation, there is no boundaries. I literally, and I know you know this, I've seen people uplifted into the highest highs, and I've seen people's lives destroyed, and both of them just because. No rhyme, no reason,
Absolutely.
no explanation,
Mm-hmm.
nothing other than I can. And so you really have to be built for that.
Mm-hmm. That is for sure. This has been an amazing conversation.
Yes.
I have learned a lot. In my spirit, I'm feeling real calm right now. I'm feeling real calm, like my feet are firmly planted right now.
And I'm going to just say, because you haven't said it, I'm going to say it. You really have been an integral piece in this music industry. I mean, because you came in and really taught people, taught artists and executives how to really have boundaries and responsibility and insight into how they make money. And what you've been able to do with your clients, 90% of the artists in this industry have not created. You've helped them. I know the artists you work with. Mm-hmm. I know the legacy and the businesses they have. I know the decisions they made early in their financial wealth because of the guidance you gave them. And so you really have been an industry standard in this industry. So if she's not gonna say it, I'm gonna tell you this one over here has truly been a game changer in the music industry.
You know, I do. I appreciate that. And I do think, as you know, when you're keeping your head down so much, and like you, I felt my job in this business has been more of a protector.
Yeah.
You know, I understand my job as the accountant and the business manager. My job is to protect the people who have been assigned to me.
Yes.
And that, to me, that's number one. We're going to get all the other stuff worked out, because I know how rough it is out here and what they're dealing with every single day. And so I'm the decision maker. I'm the bad guy.
Yeah. But you protect their money so they can have fun.
Absolutely. Because that's why we're here. Let's not get it twisted.
Yes.
It's
we
the
are here to
business
have
of
fun
entertainment.
Too. Yes.
Yeah. But and we're here to make money.
Yes.
And
keep it.
And keep it. Can we say that?
And keep it.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Sheri, for being here. And thank you for this amazing conversation. I know there's a lot of people, whether they're parents, aspiring executives, talent, whomever they are in the ecosystem of this incredible, dynamic, complex industry, that they're going to get something from this.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
I love this
that.
conversation. It's so good when you talk to your friends.
I know. It's like, oh, girl, we can tell the truth, too. So I want people to know how to follow you, how to reach you. Please share all the things.
Yes. So you can reach me on IG and LinkedIn at Sheri Riley, SHERI RILEY. And for information on my business, you can go to the THEEL Solution. So THEEL Solution.com.
Yep. And so if this video has helped you in any way, please please share, because you may know someone who desperately needs to hear this information. So please do that. And you know how to stay connected with me at Jani Thornton and the website thankmelatermoney.com. And please share this episode, and we'll see you next episode. Thank you for tuning in.